morning, everyone, and welcome to Metro Board activities for April 25th, 2024. Before we begin, I'll ask our Chief Safety and Readiness Officer, Teresa Impastato, to provide today's safety contact.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the event of an alarm activation, we'll exit this conference room via the glass doors and proceed into the lobby where we'll await further instructions from the security team. If we are instructed to exit the building, I'll lead the group to our designated assembly point, while the security team will coordinate with first responders. There's an AED located at the entry desk, and in the event of an emergency, I'll retrieve the AED and render aid while we await emergency services. Lastly, restrooms are located in the vestibule area adjacent to this room. Biking is a great way to get around or enjoy a recreational ride. Metro services are extremely cycle-friendly. Here are a few tips to ensure your journey is safe. When taking your bike on Metro Rail, use the elevator. Do not bring your bicycle on an escalator. Don't ride in stations, on platforms, or in trains. Wait away from the platform edge. When the train arrives, wait for everyone to get off before attempting to board. The middle rail cars in a train are usually the most crowded, so consider boarding the first or last car and use the end doors rather than the center car doors. While on the train, do your best to avoid blocking aisles and doors. When taking your bike on Metro Bus, follow the printed instructions to load and unload your bike from the exterior racks. When riding the bus, keep an eye on your bike. Try to sit near the front of the bus. When near or approaching your stop, remind the bus operator that you'll be retrieving your bicycle from the bicycle rack. See a station manager or talk with your bus operator for any bus transportation safety concerns. For additional information on transporting your bike on the Metro system, visit WMATA.com. This concludes our safety contact.
Thank you, Ms. Impastato, and welcome to this meeting of the Board Safety and Operations Committee. Since this is our first public session of the day, I'll ask Ms. Ellison, our Board Corporate Secretary, to call the roll.
Chair Drummer.
Here.
Vice Chair Martin Proctor.
Good morning.
Director Smedberg.
Present.
Director Hadenlow.
Present.
Director McAndrew.
Here.
Director Klein. Director Letourneau.
Present.
Director Santos.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Now to approval of the minutes of our March 7th meeting. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. So this morning we have one information item on today's agenda. Staff will provide updates on the realignment of all operational and safety training within the Office of Technical Training and Development. And secondly, they'll provide an update on Team Metro's ongoing development of our Center of Excellence for Training, or our Center of Excellence Training Academy. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Impastato.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Alyssa McDade, who joins me in this presentation. Alyssa is the Senior Director of Organizational Development for the Technical Training and Development Department. She's been with Metro for 7 years and has led strategic change initiatives to build capacity within operations, sustainability, and infrastructure. Alyssa joined the Technical Training and Development team in February of 2023 and since has worked tirelessly to oversee the integration of the former decentralized technical training functions, to stabilize and enhance training delivery and throughput, to identify opportunities for improvement, and to oversee the creation of our roadmap to create the Technical Training Center of Excellence. She works closely with our partners in people, culture, and inclusion to implement the talented teams pillar of our strategic transformation plan. We look forward to briefing the board on our progress to date, as well as our upcoming efforts, and I'd like to turn the presentation over to Ms. McDade.
Thank you, Teresa. And let me go forward. Okay, great. Today's updates from Technical Training and Development align with the strategic plan goal for talented teams and the objective of professional and skill development.
Could you move the mic a little closer?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the objective of professional and skill development to invest in staff to expand career pathways and develop the next generation of Metro leaders and technical skills experts. During today's presentation, I will be providing an update on progress on organizational handover, Center of Excellence Training Academy update, governance and documentation and information digitization, rail traffic controller training pilot, and our training simulator program. With the agency-wide organizational realignment in November 2022, all operational and safety training was aligned under the new Chief Safety and Readiness Officer, Teresa Impastato. As a result, the Office of Technical Training and Development was established to merge all training-related roles. In January 2023, technical skills training, rail operations quality training, bus operations training, and bus maintenance training were all brought under this new office. In February 2023, the Strategic Transformation Plan was formalized and identified a preliminary initiative program under the Talented Teams goal to establish a Center of Excellence Training Academy to provide staff with the right skills and capabilities that Metro's operations require. Also in February 2023, I was onboarded as the Senior Director, Organizational Development, to lead the office realignment and move towards the Center of Excellence Training Academy. Safety and Readiness received functional organizational control over budget and performance of this office in May 2023. In July 2023, Technical Training and Development was internally realigned to rebalance staff and workloads and to improve functional area alignment. The new training program areas are technical skills training, maintenance training, which combines rail and bus rolling stock maintenance, bus operations training, rail operations training, certification, and safety training. In September 2023, Technical Training and Development launched the 7000 Series Rail Simulator Utilization Strategy and Pilot Program for new rail operators and successfully awarded contract support through the multiple award task order contract to provide an installation pathway for 12 additional 7000 Series rail simulators. In November 2023, we launched the Rail Traffic Controller course to pilot an updated program with improved course structure and design, built around adult learning best practice, weekly assessments, and spaced learning to revisit topics multiple times to reinforce learning. The Rail Traffic Controller pilot is one example of curriculum that has undergone an extensive update to improve the assessment and learning outcomes of the course through the use of instructional system design. Successful competitive procurement of consultant staff support led to the November 2023 project launch to develop the Center of Excellence Training Academy Vision and Implementation Strategy, which will be delivered in May 2024. And rail certification will transition from rail transportation to technical training and development on June 30th, 2024. Technical training and development is closely collaborating with people, culture, and inclusion to modernize and standardize job descriptions and create new job descriptions to support the programmatic shift towards instructional system design and utilization of formal curriculum development. We are also working together to relaunch much-needed leadership training focused on the frontline supervisor. To help us examine the current state of technical training, we broke the training life cycle into 5 core steps needed to provide quality training. Discover and define whether these are trainings required by regulation or by an internal need identified at Metro. Design and develop course content that meets the needs of the learner and conveys all of the relevant information. Prepare for the course to be taught, which might involve an instructor learning the material, or it might involve uploading some videos to a digital platform. Rooms may need to be booked, and customers will need to sign up to attend the training. Deliver course material, focusing on how information is conveyed to learners, whether in the classroom, in a lab, on a bus or train, or in a simulator. The future will offer additional innovative opportunities to deliver training that meet the needs of learners wherever they are. Evaluate training. The lessons learned from delivery, preparation, and design feed back into the process to discover and define training, which improve the learning experience in the next cycle. The current state assessment, completed in March 2024, establishes the baseline from which to build improvement using benchmarking and/or leading practices from transit and other peer organizations. This research identified opportunities for growth and that Metro would benefit from looking at multiple best practice models from transit peers and private industry, as there is no one size fits all. The project is also intended to help technical training and development enhance our management tools and become a digital-first organization. That work is ongoing. Our current effort is to develop the strategic vision and implementation strategy, one for the Physical Fit for Purpose Center of Excellence Training Academy, and second for the prioritized plan to move the technical training organization forward and launch the Training Academy Center of Excellence. We are working to identify the strategic shifts that will put us on a path to excellence and the specific activities, including both quick wins and long-term investments that will take us into the future. The current state assessment used a wide variety of inputs to develop its findings, which included one-on-one interviews with stakeholders from across Metro, clarifying current challenges, opportunities, and resource and process needs. It also surfaced a passionate technical training and development workforce who take great pride in their opportunity to train the next generation of operators and maintainers. These one-on-one conversations engaged a wide range of stakeholders, including customer leaders from across Metro, such as rail and bus transportation and maintenance, infrastructure, safety, the MIC, and technical training and development staff, managers, and leadership. The three focus groups were conducted to hear perspectives in different settings. These conversations explored staff's roles, their relationship to one another, and the pain points they experience as they do their work. Staff also shared their aspirations and vision for the future of training at Metro, which included engaging students through cutting-edge technology, improved facilities, and the inclusion of adult learning techniques to engage students with consistently applied hands-on learning experiences. Data analysis reviewed a wide range of documents to gain insights about how technical training works today. The project team reviewed reports, course materials, org charts, and other data to gain insights about the current state of technical training. 5 major cross-cutting themes were identified across all phases of the life cycle. They represent an overlapping set of challenges and opportunities which, if addressed together, can create a real transformation in the way Metro trains its staff and delivers service to its customers. Within vision, enterprise vision and culture, opportunities to create Metro-wide training strategy and vision that integrates efforts from teams across Metro into a single approach. Leveraging culture, staff have a passion for Metro and the system. We need to use this passion to help drive a change in Metro's culture that correctly values the importance and impact of training. Within governance and management, there are opportunities to improve coordination, policies, and processes to achieve better results. Simplifying these will make the training process work faster and reduce the amount of time it takes to get course changes in front of students, improving training performance, compliance, and overall organizational effectiveness. People are a key element of training. We want to focus our staff on the core value-add activities that they do: course development, delivery, and improvement. Staff are incredibly knowledgeable about the skills and roles that they instruct, and they could benefit from opportunities to improve their instructional skills. This may include providing more opportunities for staff to learn about effective instruction and share ideas across teams to improve the classroom experience. Learning modalities and processes are all about how people learn, such as in-person instruction or computer-based training or hands-on training. Research suggests that adults are most engaged with learning when they are hands-on and have an opportunity to engage. We can revamp our courses to lean into this and deploy modern technology to support more effective instruction, from the use of simulation to providing access to a video library of micro-learning. Finally, there are a range of enabling areas that support effective learning: the spaces, places, tools, and data that will make it all work. The Carmen Turner facility, which is our current technical training and development facility, presents several challenges for learners. Many classrooms lack natural light, have inconsistent temperatures, and utilize outdated, unsupported, and unreliable equipment. Transforming our physical space, investing in the tools and technology used by learners, and improving our ability to analyze and react to data will all support more effective learning. The current state assessment benchmarked against over 15 organizations, both within transit and in other industries, to identify best practice activities that could provide lessons for Metro's Center of Excellence Training Academy. From that research, we discovered there is no one-size-fits-all model to model ourselves after. We use the following criteria to identify peer organizations: leading industry organization when it comes to training their employees, safety practices are taught to their employees, organization operates in a unionized environment, and the organization size and complexity is comparable to Metro. With this criteria, we compiled key lessons to apply to the development of the Center of Excellence Training Academy at Metro. Effective training governance supports improved organizational outcomes. Strong apprentice programs benefit employees and the organization over the long term. Modernized software and up-to-date facilities have a significant positive impact on the training experience, knowledge retention, and organizational outcomes. Clear career guidance improves morale and supports individual ownership of career growth and development. Local and regional universities and vocational schools can be powerful partners to identify new employees and upskill the workforce. Next, we will transition to governance and documentation and information digitization. These efforts are ongoing. Technical training and development has been partnering with quality to align standard operating procedures across all technical training and development and has piloted a process to utilize MetroDocs for review, approval, and storage of selected course materials. Digital modernization to develop digital solutions to manual human processes. In March 2024, Rail Operations Quality Training launched a process to capture, store, and dynamically search class sign-in sheets by employee ID, name, and course code. This will enable the training team to quickly respond with comprehensive training information during incident investigations. The Training Center of Excellence current state assessment will provide a roadmap to implementation strategy and upgrade data collection, record storage, and provide reporting. Next, the Rail Traffic Controller pilot is one example of curriculum that has undergone extensive update to improve the assessment and learning outcomes of the course through the use of instructional system design. In response to a 2020 Washington Metro Rail Safety Commission audit, Metro launched an initiative to design, develop, and deliver a new employee development training program for the rail traffic controllers. After conducting a current state assessment of the Rail Traffic Controller training program, contract support was onboarded to create a new instructional program. The pilot of this curriculum is currently underway. Prior to developing the new program, opportunities were identified to improve course structure and design, training materials, and assessments. In the new curriculum, adult learning best practices were applied to produce a high-quality training program with modern course design. More specifically, 4 adult learning best practices were implemented. Peer synthesis, where trainees are encouraged to learn from each other, assist each other, and build off each other's answers, which creates a rich learning environment. Trainees can process difficult topics by working together. With spaced learning, trainees are introduced to a topic and then revisit that topic multiple times throughout the program. Revisiting topics helps trainees better retain that content. Instead of passively learning to the lecture, trainees now take active role in their learning. This includes discussion where trainees articulate their strategy and approach to a scenario, or hands-on activities such as simulations, where trainees practice the rail traffic controller role. The assessments were redesigned to test trainees' application of the materials rather than simply memorizing bits of information. The new formative and summative assessments enable trainees to demonstrate application of knowledge. This new assessment pipeline enabled improved student learning progress tracking. By leveraging best practices, curriculum was established that aligns with current adult learning best practices. Standardized materials were produced, application of knowledge was improved, and skill development enhanced. And ultimately, overall training time and cost was reduced. The Rail Traffic Controller pilot success and opportunities for continued improvement are currently being identified and mapped to updates for the next class. Trainees are learning and gaining new skills week over week. The pilot incorporates weekly evaluation. To ensure students' learning is progressing as desired, students are required to take an assessment every 5 days during fundamentals and simulations. Simulations assessments are solely focused on application of knowledge during real-life scenarios. During on-the-job training, instructors complete a written evaluation form on a weekly basis. This form is reviewed by the trainee. Trainees also receive a pre-classroom training test and a post-classroom training test to assess the development of their competencies. As is the process currently, at the end of the entire curriculum, the Rail Traffic Controller certification exam must be passed before becoming a full-time rail traffic controller. Trainees on this pilot are scheduled to take the certification exam at the end of May. Throughout the pilot, trainees have remained actively in activities, participation in activities, testing their knowledge, and sharing their new insights with peers. Instructors have also embraced the new format and have been proactive in bringing the new class to fruition, leading interactive activities that enhance training for the trainees. These successes are made possible through the new curriculum materials that have been developed to reflect updated Metro processes and expectations, and to support a modern training curriculum that represents current adult learning best practices. 4 opportunity areas have been identified for incorporation into the next class. Add practice opportunities. Create additional activities for trainees to practice the skills they are learning, particularly the basics, to ensure they are comfortable with the material before layering on more complex skills. Increase curriculum flexibility. Update tools and learning modules so that the course can adjust to the needs of each trainee cohort class, and ongoing Metro updates, including training background, scheduling, and Metro safety rules updates. Augment technical content. Develop additional course content to provide enhanced information about topics that have been identified as pain points for trainees during the pilot. Continue to refine evaluation methods. Examine how assessments and evaluations can be further enhanced to better track the progress of trainees throughout the course. Next, I will transition to our training simulator program updates. In September 2023, Technical Training and Development launched the 7000 Series Rail Simulator Utilization Strategy and Pilot Program for new rail operators, and successfully awarded construction support through a multiple award task order contracts to provide an installation pathway for 12 additional 7000 Series rail simulators. The Train Operator Simulator Pilot Program enhanced the training and performance evaluation of train operators and showed statistically significant improvements over the previous approach. The Train Operator Simulator Pilot was conducted over 7 new rail operator classes from June 2023 through March 2024. From each class, a subset of students were selected to participate in the pilot group. The pilot had trainees complete a portion of stick time using 7000 Series simulator during yard practical training. The remaining time was conducted with a non-revenue train on mainline. Simulator mainline operation reinforced the manipulation of the master controller, adherence to signals, operating regulated speeds, and ACAR marker station stops. 8 7000 Series troubleshooting competencies deemed essential for effective train operation were also taught. Participants in the pilot program, in comparison with the control, were observed to have statistically significant improvement over other course participants. Installation for the remaining 12 simulators is expected to be completed by the end of June, which will allow the next new operator class to utilize simulators for all students. 4 bus simulators will also be installed in April, currently being installed, and testing and instructor training is expected to begin in May. Bus operations training is finalizing a hybrid curriculum approach, which will incorporate the simulators into the training program. And we will be back before the board towards the end of the year to provide an update on the Center of Excellence Training Academy and to provide more refined dates at that time. The project to create the roadmap for the Center of Excellence Training Academy will continue through May. Technical Training and Development is currently in the process of finalizing our vision and starting to build a roadmap. From here, we will initiate the transformation, prioritizing impactful changes and launching long-range capital programs. Notionally, we plan to formally launch the internally improved Center of Excellence in winter 2025, when we can deploy updated processes and branding that will provide a changed employee experience in training. The project will continue with additional culture, people, process, and technology changes occurring after the Center of Excellence Training Academy launch. Construction dates for the transformed training spaces are still being defined. Developing a Training Academy Center of Excellence is an ongoing investment in training and development at Metro that will pay off by improving the quality of the staff, their morale, the safety, and efficiency throughout the system. Thank you. What questions do you have?
So Teresa and Alyssa, thank you very much for bringing this level of board and community visibility to this project. Very important. And Melissa, thank you, or Alyssa, thank you for taking on this huge challenge. Before I ask my question, I'll turn the floor over to committee members that have comments or questions. Dr. Lowe?
Oh, thanks for this presentation. I have some basic questions and then maybe some more complicated ones. The training academy, I just want to make sure I understand, this is not just a concept, but will ultimately be a physical place at Carmen Turner.
Correct. We see it as two projects that are intertwined. One is the physical building, and it will either be utilizing our existing real estate or a new build.
Okay, someday I will go to
Someday you will go
the
to-
Center of Excellence,
Absolutely.
and my body will be there.
Your body will be
Okay,
there.
yes, okay, I'm looking forward to
You may
that.
be able to take
Yeah.
augmented reality training at that location.
I definitely want to drive the bus simulator. Okay. You said you've alluded to this in the slides, but I didn't really understand. Can you tell me a little bit more about how this restructuring of training relates to our apprenticeship programs?
Sure, yeah. So our apprenticeship programs, I think, are really a core foundation of what we want to continue to do with the Center of Excellence Training Academy. So improving, strengthening the existing apprentice programs, and then finding other opportunities to create more apprentice programs and improving the pathway to our jurisdictions to create jobs and to gather interest in students in high school and younger for these wonderful trade skills opportunities. We have 2 and 4 year apprentice programs currently. They're amazing programs. We're really investing in people because we expect them to be at Metro for their entire career. They're going to build their families. They're going to buy a house. They're going to live here and be Metro employees for their entire career. And we couldn't be more proud of them.
At some point, I would love to learn more about the vision for growth in terms of our apprenticeship programs, just more specifics about where we are, where we could go. I think that this, of course, is important for Metro, but is of greater economic significance, and the future of the infrastructure workforce is something that's a federal priority. I mean, my understanding is that by having apprenticeship programs, this is something that gives us an edge on federal grant applications already, and we should only anticipate that that's going to be something that is going to continue in the future. On the topic of federal grants, I'm wondering, are there federal grant opportunities that we could pursue in order to invest in the Center of Excellence? Like, should we start looking into that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are participating in grants associated with electric bus and associated with parts of what we want to do with the Center of Excellence, and then we're also always looking for additional opportunities.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe it's something to keep an eye on for the future too. And then I'd like to hear, you mentioned that what we learned from peers was that partnering with local or regional community colleges or universities is a best practice. Does WMATA currently have any relationships?
We have relationships with some local community colleges in terms of with our elevator escalator program. They do get a 2-year college credit. So there is that opportunity.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
So I know that we have the elevator escalator apprenticeship program. So we run that internally, but then it is they essentially are getting a degree as
Right.
well.
Correct.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so we're thinking perhaps more such kinds of certificate programs in the future?
We're looking into that. There's more collaboration needed with the jurisdictional partners to be able to establish that type of program, more formal work to do there. So we're looking into that, but we also want to make sure that we are doing outreach to those community partners and finding ways to just see if we can there's a bridge where they can have be really encouraging their folks to come work for us and that maybe there are other ways that we can be doing skill building in partnership with them. That's an emerging area that we plan to work on.
Great.
I'll just add in that there is Sherry Dickerson and Jewel Bell, who you both know. So Jewel's our Vice President of Bus Operations and Sherry's our Chief People Officer, are both working. For some reason, I think it might be Cardoza. Is that the high school?
Our technical high school?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the one they're working on right now, where there's been some partnership conversations.
Great.
There's a school in LA
Mhm.
that kind of has this whole transit program, and we're kind of exploring that here as well. So we can get more information. There's a lot of things in the fire here, and I think one of the takeaways here is we'll figure out how to work between the people team and the technical training team and figure out later this year how to show all those.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about the evidence that you gathered that the simulator training is better. I'm guessing like a class was like randomly assigned to sim or non-sim training, and then we compared the two groups.
Yeah, it wasn't one class or another. It was within each class, over 7 classes, we took a percentage of those students and put them on simulators for 6 of their 8 hours of operations time, and then compared their test results and their assessment results at the end. So they were statistically higher than the other students, and that really just proved to us that it works and it's effective.
Yeah, that's a robust
Yeah,
finding. That's
right.
really great.
Right.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Smedberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alyssa, thank you for this presentation. And one question, beyond the leadership team, you and Teresa and others working on this, tell us a little bit about the buy-in from supervisors, current operators. What's been their involvement to get us to this point, or to get you to this point?
Their involvement, we've been involving them as we're developing new curriculum and really piloting that. So for the rail traffic controller, really working with the folks who are involved, from the students and getting their feedback and buy-in, working with the NIC to make sure and the existing rail traffic controllers, working with the supervisors and the managers within that within the rail division, to make sure that this new training is fit for purpose for them and is effective. And so getting constant feedback for that. With the automatic train operations training that we've developed, that was really working, it's a good model that we want to use going forward, working with the operators, working with the union, working with supervisors, both within rail transportation, within training, and then within the comms and signaling group, to really make sure that what we're going to be delivering is useful and effective, and is really meeting their needs as well. And so that's a model that we're using, to roll out training going forward. In terms of the vision and implementation strategy, that was really focused at leadership's needs, thinking about what they need for the future for training, and then we will need to go back and talk to supervisors and frontline staff, but haven't engaged them at this point.
Okay, that's great to hear. And so there is buy-in, I guess, is the bottom line, which is
Right.
really great
Yeah.
to hear. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Martin Proctor.
Hi, team. Thank you so much for this presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about how we are encompassing education, training, and workforce development, especially being centered with regards to apprenticeships and certifications. I do have 3 clarifying questions. The first one is, you spoke specifically about certifications. I wanted to know if these certifications are nationally recognized.
So when we're talking about certification, specifically talking about rail operator certification, that's an internal designation.
Okay, so that is an internal designation. Thank you for that clarification. You also spoke about the adult learning best practices. I was kind of curious as to what academic model was that based on, or was there a university partnership as we developed that?
I don't know the specific academic model. That's a good question, and I can come back with an answer on that. And we did not partner with the university. It was more research based. So the consultant team that I'm working with did quite a lot of research to develop that, as well as the consultant team they use the ADDIE model for the rail traffic controller training.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate that answer. I was curious because I know that UDC tends to have a lot of really great adult learning best practices and interactions. They might be a good collaborative partner to reach out and talk with to make sure that we're keeping up with the best practices and the most advanced things out there for our team building.
Thank you.
And my third question, and this one should be real simple, with regards to our videos and webinars. I know that they're accessible. We have closed captioning, we have transcripts, we have all that good stuff. Yeah.
That's what we're working on. So we're working right now to develop some parameters around micro learning. And that is a key component of what we will be developing. So what's exciting about the idea of micro learning is that we can do that, and it's relatively easy to do. So we can have translations. So if somebody doesn't speak English as their first language, we don't want that to be a barrier for their learning. This will give us an opportunity to do that. And as well as closed captioning. And for some of our trainings today, our instructor-led trainings, we are able to offer Spanish language translation if requested. But this will give us more flexibility because it is available. Let's say we put a video that we want to use on an internal YouTube account, something like that. We can add those closed captions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Klein.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Drummer. Following up on some of the partnership opportunities that other board members have raised, the federal government has some training investments that they've been making over the years, including in the National Transit Institute, as well as the Transit Workforce Center close by in Silver Spring. Can you talk about if so, how you have leveraged resources or worked with those entities? And do you have any suggestions for other ways that the federal government might support these sorts of efforts?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So we have worked with the Transit Workforce Center quite a bit, looking at our electric bus curriculum, both from bus maintenance and from bus operations. So partnering with them to look for best practices in terms of curriculum development. And then the National Transit Institute is a resource that we make available to our staff for training and learning opportunities. So that's how we've leveraged that. We are always looking for, when we have a new large program come on board, such as electric bus, we are always looking for something we can model ourselves after. So that we can be quickly available with training. So if there are those resources from the federal government in terms of best practice curriculum or anything like that, we would love to leverage that. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'll close with one final question. I think we would agree that training is a continuum. And in this continuum, it includes day-to-day operations. So what I want to do is kind of frame this. In the Center of Excellence, I know that we can deal with initial training, certification, and documentation. And in the Center of Excellence, we can also include cyclic training and recertification and documentation. In the middle is operations, day-to-day. Can you help me understand or help us understand the roles of team leaders, supervisors, and managers in the middle to move us toward a building and sustaining a culture of high performance?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Chair. So within the structure of our safety management system, we're taking a life cycle approach towards employee competency, proficiency, and training. And in that life cycle, really in the earlier phases, folks will come to the training center, they'll be trained, they'll leave with an understanding of the cultural norms that are expected as a Metro employee, and then they'll leave with the technical skill and proficiency to perform their job. Once they are released to their operational or infrastructure management teams, there is an ongoing program for in-service assessment that is led by supervision and management in those departments. Our employees are subject to ongoing assessment, mentoring, identification of coaching opportunities with their field leadership. We have structured programs in operations and infrastructure to perform ongoing assessments of employee compliance and employee performance. We use the results of those assessments to derive targeted improvement initiatives that we can focus on in retraining. So in the life cycle, if we identify opportunities to reinforce best practices, if we identify any sort of practical drift that might be occurring in the execution of our operations, we have a two-way channel for communication. So that back feeds the development of the curriculum for ongoing refresher training and recertification, focusing on what we're observing on the day-to-day.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you again for a great presentation. We look forward to monitoring our progress.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So with no further business to come before this committee, we will stand adjourned, and I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Letourneau to begin the Finance and Capital Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Drummer. Good morning and welcome to the Finance and Capital Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. Since Ms. Klein is recused from the discussion we're having at the Finance Committee today, Alternate Director Ray will be participating in her place today. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. I'd like to move the approval of the agenda as presented. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of our April 11th meeting. Are there objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. We only have one item on our agenda today. It's actually going to be on this agenda and then later in our meeting on the board's agenda, and that is our budget. This is the culmination of many, many months of work by Metro staff, by our jurisdictional partners, elected officials across the jurisdictions, and also input from thousands of our riders and community members who provided comments on the proposed budget. I would just like to take a moment to thank the general manager, our staff, all the folks who really have worked, not just during this budget season, but over the entire year to find cost savings and help us bring forward a balanced budget. We also want to thank our jurisdictional partners. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding, new commitments that are being made to help us close the gap. We've been talking about this fiscal cliff for years at this point, and the region has responded and helped us close this gap, allow us to keep operating. And then also to our riders, I know that it is difficult to hear the uncertainty when we have to bring forward things like we did with the general manager's original proposed budget, which had significant service cuts that causes great consternation in our community. Part of what our process is and part of our transparency and our requirement to pass a balanced budget. But I'm glad that the final budget that we're discussing today doesn't look like that original budget. So I will start with the general manager. Is there any kind of scene-setting remarks you want to make for us before we turn it over to our CFO?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Letourneau. Most time here, I want to give to the staff here. I really can't say this enough. We've done it multiple times. Is thank this board for leadership, engagement, our jurisdictional partners. This is a very complex, not only governance model, but funding model. We have two governors, mayor, councils, legislatures, federal government. Everyone has pitched in and been part of the solution. Everyone universally said we can't have a strong region meet any of our goals without a healthy metro. So not only is the funding incredible and important, but I think the recognition of the value of this institution for our region has been recognized. And then I know we have some jurisdictional partners, JCC and others in the room. You all work very hard on these topics behind the scenes, so thank you for what you do every day. Our CAO group, COG brought them together. There's just been a lot of people, our business community, advocates, our labor partners. Everyone's been into this tent working together. And then lastly, as I hand it over, you mostly hear from Utendi and Tom. The two of them, Regina and their whole teams, have just worked nonstop. We can't wait, quite frankly, for today to be over so we can start working on FY26 next week. So I just appreciate this incredible team and what they've all done. So thank you, Chair Letourneau.
All right, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Yetunde Olumide. I am the Chief Financial Officer. I'm joined by Tom Webster, Chief Planning and Performance Officer. In this presentation, we will present the recommended FY25 budget and the FY25 through 30 capital improvement plan, as well as provide an overview of our Title VI equity analysis for the recommended budget. Tom.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. The Your Metro Strategic Transformation Plan guided the development of the recommended budget. And with the board's adoption today, the operating and capital budgets and the 6-year capital improvement program really become our investment plan to advance the transformation plan.
Right. The recommended FY25 budget totals about $5 billion, of which $2.4 billion is for operations and just under $2.6 billion for capital investments. The $2.4 billion operating budget includes $2.3 billion to fund Metro Bus, Metro Rail, and Metro Access services, $72 million in debt service, and $15 million in reimbursable projects. The fiscally responsible $2.3 billion operating budget continues to deliver exceptional service, ensuring minimal disruptions to our valued commuters with targeted cuts to optimize service and align service to current ridership. By identifying administrative efficiencies and through aggressive expense management, FY25 gross operating expenses are maintained at FY24 levels. This operating budget is funded with $387 million of passenger revenues, $101 million of non-passenger revenues, and $1.75 billion in total subsidy, which includes the additional subsidy of $463 million above the 3% cap. Additionally, one-time savings by Metro will enable us to carry forward $95 million in federal relief funding for use in FY25. Metro's aggressive expense management identified $113 million in administrative and operational efficiencies in FY25, which include?
So in the capital program, we've identified $150 million of administrative and overhead expense reductions, about $25 million per year. And we're continuing to look at opportunities to modernize our standards, our requirements, and practices in delivering capital projects to drive some long-term savings. What that allows us to do is preserve capital resources for investment in state of good repair and other projects in the future.
And operating also includes $38 million of budget savings from salary and wage freezes for Local 689, Local 922, and non-represented employees. Additionally, on the operating side, we have $50 million of recurring cost efficiencies in the operating budget identified by our cost mitigation task force. This budget preserves all-day frequent service introduced in FY24 and maintains service on all 135 bus lines, preserves the rail system's hours of operation, continues current headways for rail service in most instances, and keeps all 98 rail stations open. This budget also maintains the current service area for Metro Access and includes targeted service and fare adjustments for FY25. These include scheduling peak service periods to align with ridership levels, operating more 6-car trains where shorter trains provide sufficient capacity, and reducing service on select holidays with low ridership levels to manage operating expenses. In addition, this budget will increase fares by 12.5% across all modes for weekday service and up to 25% on late night and weekend service. Metro's funding jurisdictions have communicated $463 million in additional funding for FY25 above the 3% cap. Metro is grateful that the region is working together to address its structural operating deficit. To fully close the operating deficit, Metro will continue to rely on preventive maintenance transfers in FY25 of about $181 million that allow it to use capital funds to pay for certain operating expenses. While we recognize these transfers provide relief to the operating budget, they also decrease capital funding available for infrastructure projects, thereby accelerating Metro's looming capital investment deficit. Furthermore, Metro projects it will reach its debt limits in FY28, eliminating a major source of financing for the capital program. Metro's total capital budget for FY25 is just below $2.6 billion. Total investment in capital projects for FY25 is $2.3 billion, with the remaining $247 million used for debt service and revenue loss from major projects. Tom.
The $2.6 billion in capital investment forecasted for next year represents the next year of our multi-year capital program, which again is largely focused on replacement, rehabilitation, and maintenance of the existing system through investments in rail cars and buses, stations, elevators, escalators, replacement bus facilities, and rehabilitation and replacement work in systems like power systems and signaling.
Metro's $11 billion capital improvement program covers the 6-year period FY25 through 30 and focuses on capital improvements for a better Metro. Debt proceeds, federal PREA and federal formula funds, about 65% of the 6-year CIP. The remaining is funded by state PREA match, dedicated funding, and system performance.
And again here, the 6-year CIP, $11 billion of investment, again advances our rehabilitation and replacement programs and also works to prepare us for the future. So it's the continuation of those reinvestments in our assets and also planning and development of future programs, including our next generation signaling system and the preparatory work for future investments that at this point remain unfunded. Towards the end of this 6-year capital program, the dedicated funding capacity begins to decline. So the delta between the investments that the region needs to make in the Metro system and the funding that's available becomes a strategic issue for the program.
So Metro is managing operating and capital expenses in FY24. On operating, we continue to tightly manage vacancies, materials and supplies, and promote paratransit alternate service providers where applicable. Also, Metro continues to reduce capital project costs through modernizing standards and practices, reducing the customization and rescoping some projects such as heavy rail overhaul and bus electrification following the FY24 year-end close, the financial audit in the fall of '24. Any FY24 carry forward will extend the capital program capacity and fund additional state of good repair needs in the 6-year CIP. Metro aims to adopt a financial sustainability reserve, also known as a rainy day fund in the future, which aligns with Metro's strategic plan, the Sustainable Transformation Plan. Staff is working on gathering details to share this summer.
So the Federal Transit Administration requires that transit agencies conduct an equity analysis to determine whether proposed permanent major service changes or fare changes will result in a disparate impact to minority customers or a disproportionate burden to low-income customers. This requirement comes from the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The purpose of the analysis is to determine whether the adverse effects of the proposed service changes or fare changes are disproportionately borne by minority or low-income customers. Following the board's adoption of the public hearing docket for the proposed service and fare changes back in January, as we've discussed, Metro received additional funds and we have revised the budget proposal. So the budget proposal no longer includes major changes to Metro bus service. It does include a number of efficiency changes aimed at improving service and reducing cost. The budget also includes fare changes that impact both Metro bus and Metro rail customers. So following the conclusion of the public hearing process, staff completed the Title VI equity analyses required for these now revised proposed service and fare changes and determined that the proposed changes do not result in either a potential disparate impact for minority populations or a disproportionate burden for low-income populations. The Title VI staff report and analysis is included as an attachment in the budget resolution. And then finally, the timeline and next steps. So following board adoption of the budget today, there are a few key implementation steps. Our grants team will continue working with the Federal Transit Administration on our annual federal formula and federal PREA grant applications with the aim to have those in place near the start of the fiscal year to fund capital projects and preventive maintenance. We will be implementing the fare increases, the rail schedule changes, and minor changes to bus schedules as happens each year in June. So the rail service schedules will change on June 1st to coincide with the beginning of the Red Line shutdown to support the Purple Line construction. The minor bus service changes will be implemented in mid-June, June 16th. And then the fare changes would be implemented on Sunday, June 30th, just before the start of the fiscal year. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will open it up. We do, in Finance Committee, we do this as a committee of the whole. I will say, maybe for the public's benefit, you may not see a ton of questions from the board at this point because we've worked on this document at length for a long time. In case you're interested, there is approximately 1,400 pages in the appendix for this item. So a lot of detailed information there. This was just the overview, but questions or comments from members of the committee or board. Ms. Martin Proctor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for clarification, and thank you guys so much for this report. I mean, I know the extensive work that has gone into this with you and your team, and we are beyond grateful for making sure that we are moving forward in a fiscally responsible manner. Just one question for clarification. You spoke about paratransit alternative service providers. Can we just elaborate on that a little bit? I know that these are our I know what it is, and I know these are partners that we've always used, but, for the good of the order.
Thank you for your question, board member. So we do collaborate with other providers such as Lyft and Uber. We also do some work with Abilities Ride. The net cost for each of those alternate providers does provide us with some budget favorability when we switch from our traditional providers to those providers. So the more rides we're able to switch over, the more favorable we are on the operating budget. What we've done in this case is try to maximize the ability for us to do so in this budget. There are no dropped trips associated with these changes. Each of our riders is well accommodated within all the changes that are made within the budget.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that this in no way, shape, or form is going to affect the service. These are providers and partners we've always used. We're just now expanding our use of them. Thank you so much, team.
Thank you. Dr. Liu?
This is just a comment. I'm always going around repeating my annoying line that it's a new day at WMATA and new things are possible. I want to commend this management team, the general manager, Tom and Yatunde, for a budget that preserves and prioritizes service while achieving very significant management efficiencies. In particular, the $150 million multi-year savings in administration of the capital plan is an eye-catching number. These aren't pennies. I know I made like a joke about finding pennies under the couch cushions and that we had to do that. That was my humorous way of saying that actually we needed, that we needed to find millions. You are to be commended for doing it. This is what the region needs from WMATA, and it's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew?
I'll be short and brief, but concur with my colleagues. Thanks. This was not easy. Looking back just months ago, this was not a certain path. And we collectively at the board with WMATA and with our regional stakeholders were able to see this through to a good result. It's not a perfect result, right? At the same time that we're rebuilding our state government in Maryland, we're asking, placing challenges on our workforce here in terms of what we can provide. And these are the same workers that saw us through the pandemic just a few short years ago. But it's a choice that it's not perfect. And until there's a adequate funding source for WMATA long-term, it will never be perfect. So to that point, we've done our bit. We've got ourselves a year, maybe two, but the job's not done, and I think it's important where we're heading here. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smedberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just echo what the general manager said earlier and just really compliment the team. And I see a lot of folks that are doing the day-to-day grinding. I can only imagine how many scenarios and models that were run over the last 9 or 10 months. So thank all of you out there for the work that you did to help support Yatunde, Tom, Randy, and others when we had these meetings. And just personally, I can say, like when we met with the governor of Virginia for 3 times and the secretary, just the appreciation of what you all do, your knowledge and everything, and how professionally you presented yourself. Really appreciate that, and the meetings that we had with the legislators down there as well, as I know you did in other jurisdictions. So thank you so much for that professionalism, and I think it really helped educate people a lot about misperceptions about Metro. It's really gone a long way. So thank you so much. And as Dr. Lowe said, just having an actual strategic plan now that we can act upon and align things properly, I think really is reflected in this budget and moving forward, dramatic changes for this organization, and it's all good. And the level of efficiencies that you've been able to make despite all the challenges, I think is really noteworthy, as Dr. Lowe said earlier. So thank you for all that work. And also Regina, you and your team, Greg, Charlie, Ann, I think I saw Ann come in. Thank you for the work you did, obviously, and still continuing to do on the Virginia side anyway, and I guess on the district as well. So a little ways to go, a little 3 weeks or so, hopefully. So again, thank you to everyone. Appreciate it. And I would also say my Virginia colleague, Matt, who chairs the Finance Committee, his interaction, his thoughtfulness, his attention to detail, pushing when pushing needed to be done and everything in his role as chair of the Finance Committee. Want to publicly acknowledge that work as well and his thoughtfulness throughout this whole process.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Any other comments from members of the board? I'll just make a brief comment. If you look at our operating and our budget, roughly 20% of our funding is funding that we generate, either through passenger revenue or some other revenue streams, which means 80% is coming from other people. And I always say this as kind of a level set, because a lot of times people want Metro to do all sorts of things. Well, at the end of the day, all those other folks who are funding us, we do what we can with what we have. I think a theme over the past year, led by Randy, has been to do as much as possible with what we have, to be as efficient as possible, to manage as effectively as possible. And if we're being brutally honest, that has not always been Metro's reputation. But as others have said, those ideas are in the past. And I would say to those in the region, Metro is not the same organization. It's being run differently. It's being run effectively, efficiently, with an eye toward all that detail that matters. So I think hopefully all of our partners can have confidence that we're spending the money that we do receive as well as we can be for the benefit of the riders. The other just brief comment I'll make is there was a bullet in the presentation about a financial sustainability reserve fund. This has been a goal of the board. It's something that we're going to be bringing back for a discussion in the Finance Committee, essentially creating a fiscal reserve policy. We don't have that here. Most of our peer organizations do, and certainly the jurisdictions do. But what we want to do is, first of all, create an incentive for management so that when money is saved, we can keep it and we can put it in a reserve fund to enable us to get through the inevitable things that are going to happen, like we've experienced unprecedented things in the last few years. But those things happen. We want to be able to plan effectively over several years. And then as we move toward a regional discussion, we hope of a more sustainable financial model that gets us out of the yearly push and pull. It's going to be critical that we have that fiscal reserve, not only for our operating budget, but also to give confidence to the markets, because I do believe we're going to need to continue to sell debt beyond 2029, despite the fact that we're currently projected to run out of that capacity. So that's just a long-term, I think, financially responsible way to operate, and the Finance Committee will be having more discussion on that. Seeing no further discussion from members of the board, I'd like to call for a vote. I move approval of the FY25 operating capital budgets, the FY25 to 30 CIP, and acceptance of the associated public hearing staff report and Title VI analysis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Does it need to be a member of the
Oh, it
committee?
needs to be a member of the committee.
I think it's okay either way, but we'll give it to Mr. McAndrew anyway. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Ellison, could you call the roll?
Chair Letourneau?
Aye.
Ms. Rye?
Aye.
Mr. McAndrew?
Aye.
Ms. Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Smedberg?
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor?
Confirmed.
Mr. Drummer?
Aye.
Dr. Hadenlow?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. With no further business to come before the Finance Committee, we stand adjourned. We'll begin the Board of Directors meeting in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
And while
Paul Smedberg, Chair of the WMATA Board. Thank you for being here today. Since we called the roll at our earlier committee meeting, we'll move right to the approval of the agenda. I'd like to consider the agenda approved as presented. Are there any objections or comments on the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Thank you. We have 7 sets of minutes for approval, board meetings from March 7th and April 11th, and executive sessions from March 7th and 21st, April 8th, 9th, and 11th of 2024. I'd like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Does anyone have any comments, corrections, or objections to any of these sets of minutes? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Thank you. I'm not sure who's taking over here at this point. Randy, are you? Okay.
I'll take
Special
over.
guest.
Yeah,
all right.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Well, budget was exciting, but we got something else that's almost as exciting. So we got some special guests with us here at the Metro family today. So today is National Take Your Child to Work Day. So we're happy to have 28 of our new young transit leaders join us today, children of Metro employees from all over the organization. They're going on an interactive tour all over the agency today. And they're here to join us, so they're gonna come by. Come out the front, guys. Around the front. We'll go to the front. And I got the cookies. There you go. How you doing? There you go. Hi, buddy. How you doing? There you go. You just keep going down here, okay? Oh, boom. No, here's your cookie. Okay. There you go. Okay. Boom. Boom. Look at that. Pretty cool cookie, huh? What are you doing? You guys having a fun day? Yeah. Good seeing you. There we go. How you doing? Okay. You guys are moving fast. Okay. Keep up with the cookies. You guys. Hey, how you doing? Man, how you doing? Good. There you go. All right. Hi. How are you? How you doing? There you go. You guys doing fist bumps, shakes, all that kind of stuff. You're doing bumps? I'll do the bumps. Okay, there you go. How you doing? Oh, no, don't. You want the cookie?
Shakes, how formal.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'll do one of these. How you doing? How you like that? Okay, there you go. How you doing? There you go. Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hi. How you doing? Go. How are you? Good seeing you.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you? You want a cookie? You okay?
Almost done. Congratulations.
Are you 12th grade? Yeah, okay, there you go. How's the cookie? Almost there. You're coming to work at Metro, right?
I love it. Yes, UPCU. Yes.
Ah, there we go. How you doing? No, don't miss the cookie. Yeah.
Good morning.
And Jameson, how you doing? Good. What grade are you in?
7.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks for coming today.
All right.
That was fun. How about we pass those down?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Board members need cookies too. Yeah.
Shorter way. Valerie, there's tons of extra
They built some. They built stuff for about and they did this massive ERP.
He is the flag guy.
They said the best one in Europe.
He can make snacks. I'll write myself a note.
Oh my God, she makes.
I like it.
Yeah, Madrid's awesome. Valerie, did you get a couple cookies? You got them? Okay.
It's all about dorky transit.
Testing.
Last night I rode the Duquesne Incline
Oh,
in Pittsburgh.
that's unique.
Yeah. There we good.
This is it going up.
Well, yeah, I've been on it.
You've been on it?
Leanna, can I give you these? Yeah.
Don't want to just sit in front of a tray of cookies.
Well, I got a cool feeling.
I think.
Let's just say you can work.
Look, I do think the system is well run.
Pretty good. It's the issue.
Okay, you ready? You good? Okay. Now we'll get back to our agenda. The employee spotlight today. The first board spotlight today recognizes station manager Denise Brown for helping save the life of a customer in February. The gentleman was on the platform at the Naylor Road Metro Station awaiting the train's arrival when he suffered a seizure and fell onto the tracks, where his seizure continued. After his seizure, he attempted to stand, and because he was disoriented, he then fell back on the tracks, once again hitting his head. Recognizing the gentleman's distress, Ms. Brown immediately pushed the power off to the third rail with which the gentleman had come in contact. Ms. Brown then contacted the proper authorities for further assistance in rendering aid. Ms. Brown's efforts prevented an already bad situation from becoming fatal. The board thanks Ms. Brown for displaying an exemplary level of skill, attentiveness, training, and compassion during this challenging incident. Ms. Brown. The second board highlight today recognizes Lieutenant Louis White, who launched MTPD's District 3 Point of Entry Policing, or POE, team in May of 23. Between May and December of 2023, the team made 199 arrests, issued over 1,300 citations for fare evasion. Eventually, Lieutenant White's team concept set the standard for MTPD and was mirrored in another 2 districts. Today, the board honors Lieutenant. Oh, I forgot to turn it over. Eventually, the POE policing expanded, and the department's citations increased 837%, most of which were issued during POE details. During this time, system-wide fare evasion fell from 14% of riders to 11%, and jumping of fare gates fell from 10% of riders to 7%. Lieutenant White's initiatives in POE have contributed to the department's lowering Part 1 crime by 17% in 2024. Additionally, numerous wanted suspects have been located and dangerous weapons have been recovered through fare enforcement. Customers have noticed the impact of POE and have mentioned on social media that the program has had significant positive impact at key stations with high levels of crime. Ultimately, Lieutenant White's efforts were greatly enhanced, or have greatly enhanced the safety of all WMATA riders and employees. Today, the board honors Lieutenant White for his innovation, dedication, and commitment to public safety. If we can have the 2 of you come forward. Yeah, and now we'll move on to our public comment and advisory board reports. We have one online comment that staff would like to play now. John? Yeah.
Good morning, board members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jacob Vasilati, and I am a resident of Ward 4 in DC. I wanted to request that the consent item for the parking fee waiver, which is consent item B, be clarified to reflect if Tacoma Station is included in the fee waiver for the entirety of the red line shutdown or just the period when Tacoma Station is closed, which is June 1st through June 29th. The existing staff report posted on the website seems to imply that Tacoma Station will be closed for the entirety of the shutdown through August and that parking will be free throughout the entire period. But it seems that the language could be clarified to make sure that that is the case so that people are not caught off guard if parking is required to be paid once the station reopens in late June. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Now we'll move on to our in-person speakers. First, Michael Golash. Mr. Golash.
Good morning. The current contract with ATU Local 689 comes up for changes on July 1st, 2024. The question at hand is, will an agreement be reached between the parties or the authority invoke arbitration? Given the history of arbitration awards over the last 50 years, I think it is obvious that reaching an agreement that both parties can agree to is the best course of action. Let's look at the history. The 1976 award modified the COLA, but neither party was satisfied with it. The 1978 award left the COLA in place, but introduced part-time operators without benefits, but again, the parties did not like the outcome. The 1980 award modified the COLA. Metro thought it was not enough, and the union thought it was too much. In 1983, Carmen Turner became general manager, and a contract was successfully negotiated. The COLA was eliminated, and Metro assumed full responsibility for funding the TURP. Contracts were successfully negotiated for the next 25 years. In 2008, the process broke down and contract went to arbitration. The award was unacceptable to both parties. From Metro's point of view, it was so unacceptable, they took the settlement to court to have it overturned. The union even thought it was did not like the award. It defended it in the court. In 2016, the contract again went to arbitration, and again the arbitration award was not pleasing to either side. In 2020, the parties reached an agreement, which both parties found acceptable. The board should instruct the general manager to make every effort to reach an agreement with the union. Metro's current financial difficulties should not be used as an excuse to make fundamental changes in the CBA. The Metro workforce is essential to the economy of the region. Many of these workers have dedicated the best years of their life to the authority. They need to be treated with respect. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marianne Lysenko. Marianne? Okay, next speaker, Denise Rush. Ms. Rush. Are you Marianne? Yeah. Yep.
So I've been riding the
Lower your
metro
voice, yeah.
and buses in DC for the last 15 years. I have to congratulate the new team. Tenley Metro escalators after 14 years. I was there last week and they're working. Whoopee. Very good. My comment about operations. I've been on the website. I've been in different, maneuvering the whole system. And right here and in L'Enfant Plaza, there's an operations problem. You've got 6th Street exit, 7th Street, 9th Street. Very confusing. You've got to fix the way, you're laying out all the people come from different places from the whole country, and the metro system is not very clear, especially here in L'Enfant Plaza. Another thing I noticed when you go check the bus routes, 96, I've never ridden the 96 bus from Tenley Town to Capitol Heights. I looked at all the bus stops that they have marked on the website. And then when I was on the bus, it's a different story, it's different stops. Do they change their routes? It looks like it. But I have to admit, after 15 years, the bus drivers are much more polite and kind, and they don't stop all the people that are, not paying their fees, because in a super wealthy country like America, I think bus service, especially in DC, has to be free, right? Especially for us budgeting people, because it's individuals that budget really closely. And the less money you have, the more precise you are with your expenditures. Not like government, budgets, they do go overboard, and it's all very circular and perpetual. Let's hope it is perpetual. So that's those are my main comments, that I think we should have that an enforced policy that people that can't pay should not be paying buses, at least the buses. With the trillions that are going to every other country for war,
Thank you, Ms.
I think we can afford a little free bus trips. Lots of countries have free bus rides, okay? That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lashenko. Next speaker, Denise Rush.
Good morning.
Good morning, Denise.
My name is Denise Rush, and I'm Vice Chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I always have a lot to say, but you got me good today. I just want to thank you, everyone that worked on it, everyone that listened, everyone that did not get their sleep or their rest. It's just a good feeling, and I'm overwhelmed about it. I had several things to talk about today, but you could kind of shut me down with approving the budget. No, it's not perfect, but it's doable, it's acceptable, and I really, really appreciate it. The AAC, the public, everybody should appreciate it, because people have really worked hard. Mr. Clark, one thing that I must talk about are the restrooms for the public. I heard you on the news, except that you had completed the project about
public restrooms. And it's not completed, but we do need to know what is really accessible for handicap, wheelchair, low vision, just people, the entire public needs to know where they can go to the restroom. So the article or the news report wasn't accurate. It needs to be clarified, and I'd appreciate that. And the lady just spoke about the signing at the Font Plaza and at other places. It's not clear. Just saying north, south, east, or west, not being clear with the system getting ready to go down for this summer. Signage for low vision, the public, everybody, it must be clear because people are going to be confused and there are going to be a lot of visitors in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. All right, next we'll hear from our Accessibility Advisory Committee Chair, Pat Sheehan. Patrick, good morning.
He's joining us online.
Yeah, he's on.
Very good. Thank you very much. Well, like Denise, I have to say, you've taken away a lot of my speech that I was going to give. I am very thrilled and I appreciate all the hard work that was done by the board, members of the staff, and all the people that came out to the hearings. I know as far as the disability community, you had over 700 individuals that were talking about Metro Access, being able to save that service and save the area and the schedule is critical. And we do appreciate that from the disability community. Other things that we have been working on, we were out to look at the 8K series when it was on the mall, along with the new buses. Members of the committee went out and we liked what we saw. It really surpassed expectations. I think that has been a terrific project with a lot of accessibility features that we asked for, so thank you for that. I think that the buses are going to be very useful, very easy to work with. They'll be very comfortable. We appreciate all the accessibility features that we see there. We know that we're looking at getting some different vehicles for Metro Access. We look forward to testing that out in the future, making sure that they, I think they're going to have good, be a little more roomier than we have had. I think that they will be an easy ride, and so we look forward to giving our input with respect to those vehicles. Lastly, I'll talk about the sort of the abilities ride and the extension, as was noted in the Finance Committee report, on more vehicles assisting the Metro Access system. I think that that shows ingenuity. It also shows cost saving, and it does really help with statistics and really assist the customers in getting a good ride. We will also be working together with the folks on the shutdown to make sure that disability issues are taken into account. Over the last 3-4 years when we've done this, it has not been a problem, but we will be happy to assist where we can. And we also will be submitting in June an updated version of our bylaws that we owe for your concurrence and review and concurrence going forward. But really, thank you so much for the work on the budget. A lot of sleepless nights, I understand. Very good work, and thank you for being so transparent with that.
Thank you.
Any
Patrick.
questions for me?
Yeah, any questions or comments for Mr. Sheen? All right, Patrick, thank you so much.
Good, thank you.
As always, appreciate the committee's work. Next, we'll call on Mr. Cole Stout. Mr. Stout is the new RAC chair.
Thank you, and good morning. My name is, like you said, Cole Stout. I'm the new chair of the Writers Advisory Council. And so before I get any further, I want to thank Mike Waters, who's not able to join us today, for his past year of leadership on the RAC, and really, since he's joined our team about 2 years ago, has really transformed the way the RAC operates, and you'll get to see a bit of that work when we get into our annual report, which was submitted as part of your board materials for this meeting. In our regular meeting this month, we really took a look at what we kind of heard in public comment about the wayfinding pilot at L'Enfant Plaza. The RAC really supports this work to find out better ways to help riders navigate the system, both tourists visiting the city for the first time and longtime riders visiting new stations as they explore the region, and looking at some of the data that's gathered to that first stage of the pilot and how we can continue to work with staff to improve wayfinding before we're rolling out that across the system. That was something that the RAC really wanted to see, is once we find the right solution of wayfinding, moving that across to as many stations as possible. We continue to engage with Metro staff on Better Bus and being engaged with that process in the next round of engagement, which will roll out, I think, later this year. And before we turn to the annual report, as we think about how the RAC can better serve the board and Metro staff, I look forward to having conversations with different directors about how we can change the structure of the RAC, whether that's through our bylaws or through how we engage with you all and Metro staff and riders to be more effective in representing a more diverse set of rider voices. We know the Metro staff does a really excellent job in getting some of that quantitative data from riders, and we want to look forward to how we can continue to supplement that directly to the board, and invite all of you, of course, to drop into our meetings anytime. We had Director Proctor came to one of our meetings a couple months ago, and we really enjoyed having you there, and encourage all of you to drop in. I know you all have busy schedules, but we meet all virtually, so you don't have to make an extra trip. You can join from home. And I'll turn it up to Lucas Sabaski here, who chaired our annual report committee. And you'll see, obviously, we'll talk a lot about some concerns riders had, but really in that report, you also see that riders are happy with the changes that have been made over the past couple of years. Increased rail frequencies and bus frequencies, better communication from Metro staff to riders. And so we just want to, while we'll talk about concerns, really thank Metro staff and the board for your continued leadership to improve the system. And so I'll turn over to Lucas.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present some of the highlights and findings of the 2024 RAC annual report. My name is Lucas Sabaski, and I was the chair of this year's RAC annual report committee. Just to highlight some of the methodology behind our report, we reached out to riders across the system, inclusive of all Metro operating jurisdictions and inclusive of Metro Rail, Metro Bus, and Metro Access riders, and asked riders to present us with their top 3 concerns, as well as any proposed solutions to those concerns. And additionally, we asked them to provide any positive observations or feedback that they had witnessed over the past year. On top of this, the annual report tries to serve as a supplement to all the great work that Metro staff does. And we really wanted to be kind of an unfiltered view of how riders are feeling and what concerns riders have. So we just encourage you to look through the report and use that to help hear riders' voices and advocate for them throughout the year. Next slide, please. So this year, we collected top concerns among riders. Number 1 among those was Metro's fiscal and long-term health. Obviously, to echo some of the things that were discussed in the Finance Committee meeting this morning, this is a huge impact as people decide where to live. They base their day-to-day lives around the Metro system, and having one that can thrive far along into the future is incredibly important to people. On top of that, we also collected and heard from various riders on system reliability concerns. Among those are things such as Metro bus reliability, as well as service disruptions, closures, and the communications with those. Also, riders highlighted physical rider experience concerns, specifically things such as public safety, as well as cleanliness and littering. Next slide, please. Just to highlight some of the proposed solutions that riders presented us with. In respect to Metro's fiscal and long-term health, riders stated that they wanted to see things such as innovative funding solutions explored by Metro, as well as increased resource and cost optimization. On top of that, in respect to safety concerns, riders wanted to see things such as continued investment in both transit police resources and visibility, as well as non-transit police resources such as crisis intervention officers and Metro ambassadors. And with respect to Metro bus reliability, riders stated they wanted to see things such as continued investment in bus priority technology and infrastructure, as well as strategic bus routing and deployment, specifically during peak times, as well as reliable and consistent tracking on all buses. Next slide, please. And then we just wanted to finish with some of the positive observations and the overall rider sentiment that we gathered in this year's report. Overall, riders expressed increased satisfaction and increasing optimism with the system, mainly tied to increases in frequency, improvements of wait times, and system reliability overall, specifically in regards to Metro Rail. Riders also spoke very positively of many of the initiatives being carried out right now, such as the new fare gates, the 24-hour buses, and your 2023 Metro report. Also, Metro employees were continuously applauded and praised throughout our conversations with riders, specifically being called out for being kind, helpful, and attentive. And lastly, we just wanted to highlight that overall, riders are very passionate about Metro and they want to have their voices heard. And in order for riders to, just keep being loyal and wanting to trust Metro, they want consistent, reliable service, as well as comfort and safety when using the system. So barring any questions, I just want to say thank you again for hearing about this year's report. And we just continue to listen to and advocate for riders.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is really nice to see. And this is, when we made changes to the RAC a couple years or 3 or 4 years ago now, this is exactly the direction and the engagement that we wanted to see from them all along. So this is really, really great. So thank you so much. Any comments or questions for the team there? Tracy?
Yeah, I'll just second and affirm that I'm really happy to see this from the RAC. Personally, I'm highly aligned in terms of the RAC endorsed recommendations. We have shared prior. Maybe that's because I ride so much. And keep it up, because the more you can provide this kind of really substantive input, the more we can incorporate it into our decision making. Great work.
Well, thank you all. And it really goes to the work the past 2 chairs have put in to revitalize the RAC, and hoping that I'm able to continue moving that forward and working with you all to make sure that we're doing our best to serve the board as one of your advisory committees.
That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And before we move on, as you mentioned, we will recognize the immediate past chair, Michael, at a subsequent meeting for all the work that he's done to help this continuing transformation of this group. So we look forward to doing that. Now we'll move on to the report of the chair. First, the board has a very exciting announcement to make this morning. After a search and careful deliberations, the board will appoint a new inspector general today, Michelle Zamarin, who is with us here in the audience. Michelle, stand up. Michelle has been selected for the Inspector General position and will serve a 3-year term with options for renewal. Ms. Zamarin currently serves as the litigation counsel in the trial unit of the Enforcement Division of the Security and Exchange Commission. She is responsible for conducting investigations into violations of federal securities laws. She also litigates the Commission's civil suits in the federal courts in matters involving fraud and public company disclosures, corporate governance, Foreign Corporate Practices Act, market manipulation, breaches of fiduciary duty, and insider trading. Prior to Prior to her work at the SEC, she had nearly 20-year career at the U.S. Attorney's Office, most recently serving as its chief of the Capitol Siege, Assault, and Breach Section. In this role, she supervised close to 100 attorneys, including 7 deputy chiefs who were charged with prosecuting the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, the largest Department of Justice investigation to date. Her previous leadership roles at the U.S. Attorney's Office include Deputy Chief of the Fraud and Public Corruption Section from 2014 through 2020, and Chief of the Federal Major Crimes Section from 2020 through 2021. Michelle holds a Juris Doctorate cum laude from Boston University, where she was also editors of one of the law firms, and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Franklin and Marshall College in Pennsylvania. Now I'd like to move approval of the following resolution appointing Michelle A. Zamarin, WMATA Inspector General. Whereas pursuant to Resolution 2006-18, the Board of Directors established the Office of Inspector General to conduct and supervise audits, program evaluations, and investigations relating to the authority's activities, promote economy, efficiency, and effectiveness in authority activities, and keep the Board of Directors fully and currently informed of deficiencies in authority activities, as well as the necessary for and progress of corrective action. And whereas the Inspector General is an officer of the authority who reports to the Board of Directors and leads the Office of Inspector General, and whereas Resolution 2022-35 provides that the Inspector General shall serve a term of 3 years with automatic extensions for consecutive 1-year terms unless within 60 days of the end of any term, the board notifies the Inspector General that his or her term will not be extended unless terminated sooner. And whereas on November 16th, 2023, the Board of Directors appointed Kevin B. Mullendorf as Acting Inspector General, Resolution 2023-37. And whereas the Board of Directors wishes to appoint Michelle A. Zamarin as Inspector General, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors thanks Kevin B. Mullendorf for his dedicated service as Acting Inspector General and terminates that acting appointment on June 15, 2024. Resolved that the Board of Directors hereby appoints Michelle A. Zamarin as Inspector General for a 3-year term to begin on June 16, 2024. And be it finally resolved that this resolution deals solely with the internal management action. It shall be effective immediately. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. I hear, and thank you, April, and where's Don? Don, yeah, yeah, okay. Any discussion? Dr. Lowe? You got it.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Okay. With no other discussion, I'll now ask the Board Corporate Secretary to administer the vote.
Chair Smedberg.
Aye.
Vice Chair McAnder.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hadden-Lowe.
Aye.
Ms. Rye.
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau.
Aye.
Mr. Drummer.
Aye.
Ms. Santos.
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor.
Confirmed.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michelle. And as you know, in our discussions, we really do look forward to your leadership in the role of Inspector General here. Would you like to say a few words? Put you on the spot.
Could you turn the mic on?
Thank you. I want to thank the board for trusting me and for supporting me and choosing me for this role. I have heard wonderful things about the team in the Inspector General's office, how talented they are, and I really look forward to joining them soon and working with them and also working along with the board. So I hope that I'm able to take the trust you have given me and strive to make the office a better place and to help WMATA. I'm excited to join your team. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, I'd like to highlight that the joint board meeting, or we'll be having a joint board meeting with the Council of Governments Board of Directors on May 1st at the Mayflower Hotel. We are convening the two bodies to launch a new joint initiative to develop a unified vision for transit services in this region. The meeting will continue months-long discussions about how to effectively provide and fund public transit, which is central to the region's transportation, economic, and sustainability goals. We welcome this collaborative approach to solve longstanding issues that severely impact our future and look forward to working with our regional leaders in the coming months. Next, we have one administrative item before us today, an appointment of an MTPD investigation review panel representative. This is currently, there is currently one vacancy on the IRP from Virginia. To fill that vacancy, the board hereby appoints Nathan Berger Best to a term to expire on October 24. I'd like to move approval. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Letourneau. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you and congratulations, Mr. Berger Best. We look forward to your participation. Let's see, next, April is Earth Month. Earth Month honors and celebrates our remarkable planet. It's time to raise environmental awareness and create consciousness around the issues that affect Mother Nature. Earth Month, a reminder of the importance of environmental conservation and sustainability, encouraging all of us to come together and take action for a healthier planet and brighter future. Every April, leaders and environmental activists from all over the world come together to create sustainable development and offer climate solutions to minimize our carbon footprint and prevent further harm to our planet's natural resources. Earth Month aims to raise awareness, inspire change, and foster a deep connection with nature. It's about uniting our efforts to protect the Earth today and for the generations to come. And finally, there are no public board activities on May 23rd. Our next public meeting will be May 9th. That concludes my report. Now I'll turn the floor over to our GM and CEO, Mr. Clark.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. For the General Manager report this month, there's a few things I'd like to highlight. We're going to start with, I'm also going to talk about Earth Day, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the fun that we had here earlier this week. And I recognize Board Member Lowe, who was with us for this fun event. This is our second annual time that we had young artists from our region submit their artwork of what Metro Bus and Metro Rail mean about sustainability in our region. So we had over 80 submissions from schools all over the DMV, and we had 15 artists selected. We had over 100 people in the boardroom. Many people brought their parents or grandparents. It's just a fantastic event. We have 3 buses now. You can find them on our tracker all throughout the DMV. And you know, the joke is that someone puts their kids' art on the fridge. Well, this is their kids' art on a bus driving around the DMV. So just a fantastic time. And these are the kind of the future transit riders and maybe employees and leaders here for our region. So it was just a fantastic event. Ongoing efforts of sustainability we have here at Metro. As you know, we have 2 electric buses in service. We have more that we're working on, including that's the next slide for who's ever doing the slides. There's new low-no opportunities that we're going to continue to go for as well. We have our Metro Lift and Senior program, which is really helping from our equity sustainability around the region. We're doing more and more solar, and that's a good picture of our Anacostia solar carport. And of course, this building and our other buildings are all LEED certified. So we are doing as much sustainability action, but I remind everyone, if we want to be sustainable, it means getting out of cars and being on transit. There's nothing you can do more about sustainability than not driving by yourself around an urban area. So we welcome you to join everyone else that's coming back on Metro and back on the trains and buses and our Metro Access vehicles. Next up, this month is also Autism Acceptance Month, and I want to recognize Board Member Klein, who came and joined for this fantastic event. And this is the second time we did this event as well. We had 25 transit enthusiasts from our region come both to this event at Franconia Springfield. We want to recognize them, but Out on the system, you probably heard we've had public address announcements from these 25 enthusiasts, both talking about trains and buses and just overall messaging here at Metro. It's got a lot of attention around the region, and I'm just so happy to give these individuals a chance to show their passion for transit and being out there. It's a very emotional event that we had families there, and it just means so much. I think it's another demonstration of how Metro means so much more than just the movement of people around our region. So look forward to doing it again next year, but hopefully you'll catch announcements. They're on until the end of the month of April. Next thing up is the red line, and I'm going to call up Board Member McAndrew on this one. I spent a lot of time with the board this month as I go through this. But I really want to recognize Board Member McAndrew's leadership on this topic specifically. We all know we have a pretty significant shutdown coming this summer on the red line, on the east end of the red line. This is to support the Maryland's DOT's Purple Line project. The only way to get this done in an efficient, safe way is for us to shut down these stations so the mezzanine can be built. Real deep conversation here about how do we move people. We have multiple bus lines, the Qs and the Ys up in Montgomery County that already move 13,000 people a day. The S2 and the S9 south of Silver Spring moves about another 14,000, I think it is, a day. But I want to recognize MDOT, State Highway Administration, Montgomery County DOT, and their leader, Chris Conklin, was incredibly important on this. Council, the entire council of Montgomery County and County Executive Elridge put a letter together. They fundamentally but not only believe in this, they wanted us to do this. Lots of people want to try to see if we can turn this into some permanency as well. And so we'll be analyzing this with our partners and then DDOT and their efforts south of Silver Spring and how they're going to do this. We have 4 shuttles. There's a lot of information out there. We will continue to put information out every day as we lead up to this, and we'll be very well staffed, including incredibly multilingual, to make sure that we can get people around during the summer. So most of the time we do these, as you all know, first day or two, we're working out a couple of hiccups, but we expect to have really good bus service. Sometimes we do these and people don't want the bus service to actually go away because we're running the bus service so well. So just to really recognize Board Member McAndrew was kind of that last, really push it into the end zone to make this done. And that's incredible leadership. So thank you. And last but not least, tomorrow is our last day at work for our friend Lynn Bowersock, who has, well, she's allowed to retire. We've decided, not willingly. I did my best to prevent it, but Lynn has had 13 memorable years, and I think it's fair to say those have been not quiet 13 years, to say the least, right, Lynn? So, a couple things I want to highlight about Lynn specifically that I think is amazing is Silverline Phase 2. I think it's fair to say Silverline Phase 2 would have not been open on the day that we opened it without Lynn's effort. She jumped in, Andy and I figured it out, okay, Lynn, we need one person that is going to do nothing but Silverline and get all the parts of the organization together. And Lynn quarterbacked that just fantastic. It was just an incredible effort. And then for Lynn to be able to go out on the Fleet of the Future and this incredible event we put out in the mall where we had over 46,000 people, and she helped really lead that, again, bringing the team together about vehicle engineering and BOSS and all those kind of components. Lastly, Lynn, I just want to say, personally, on behalf of the whole staff, there's a reason everyone kind of ends up in your office for advice. You're like the kind of the den mother, I've joked, for the organization. You know everyone. You're an incredibly kind person, incredibly strategic. You put a lot of blood, sweat, tears into this organization, and it's better because of everything you've done. So, I know the board wants to say a few remarks, and then we'd have you please come up and make a couple remarks, and we have embarrass you one more time, and we have a cake for you as well. So just really appreciate you, and what a great tenure you've had here.
Is Lynn allowed to retire? I want everyone to look at the documents on this one more time.
She might have already processed the paperwork.
Well, I think, Randy, your statement about having fun over these last, say, 5 or 6 years certainly is an understatement. But I think something Randy said, Lynn, is really key, is how always strategic and professional you were throughout it all. And And I just personally appreciated that, and I know other board members who are not here now, I know appreciated that. And you know, it's always sad to see people like you go, because an organization of this size needs that institutional knowledge, and you need the people who are aware of the history of things as we move forward, given the complexity of this organization, not only internally, but almost as importantly, externally. And so just really salute your service here, and all that you've done is really pretty remarkable and noted. So just thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Lynn, you want to come up and say a few remarks? Thank you for that. Yeah.
So first, I just want to thank the board and Randy for the opportunity to serve this incredible organization over the last 13 and a half years. It has been truly an honor and a privilege, a place that has become my professional home and my family in so many ways. And in many, many things that, as the chair referenced, I will never forget. We all grow and learn from the challenges as well as the days of success that Randy mentioned. I also just want to say to everybody listening that on the day that the board approves the budget, there is really a lack of understanding and appreciation for that which is the board's most important role for Metro, which is funding the service that we provide. What people don't see is all the work that goes on beyond just these 2 meetings a month, particularly for the chair and the finance committee chair. The finance committee chair is a real inspiration to me as I go into retirement and think about how I want to spend my time. Matt has a full-time job, a family with many children, and he serves as an elected official for the county and then volunteers his time as our finance committee chair. And I don't know when he sleeps because there aren't enough hours in the day to do all of that.
It's 3 phones.
3 phones. So people don't fully understand the work that goes on with Randy on the board's behalf to make regionalism real, to make sure that all of our customers are well served by buses, trains, and access vehicles, and to make sure that service is as safe, frequent, and customer-friendly as possible. But this board is extraordinary, and I have really appreciated the opportunity to work with all of you. Thank you.
Pick it up and we'll grab it after the.
Okay, thank you for your report, Mr. Clark. Now I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Letourneau for the report by the Finance and Capital Committee. Mr. Letourneau.
All right. We have a couple items being referred today. The following item was referred to the board from the April 9th Finance and Capital Committee meeting, joint development update. Staff sought acceptance of 2 public hearing staff reports and authorization for changes to the mass transit plan at 2 metro stations, Brooklyn COA and Capitol Heights, and the approval of a joint development agreement with the DC Public Library at the Deanwood Station. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of all 3 items.
Okay, we have a motion by thank you, Mr. Letourneau. Okay, set. Yep, okay, we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Letourneau, thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. Is there any final discussion or comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll ask the board corporate secretary to administer the vote.
Chair Smedberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Vice Chair Haddon-Lowe?
Aye.
Ms. Rye?
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Mr. Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Santos?
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor?
Confirmed.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum. I mean, the motion passes. Sorry.
Okay, and then we have one item referred to the board at this morning's Finance and Capital Committee. No, not yet, not yet, not yet. That was just
joint development.
Not yet. Just joint development.
Yeah, someone call the
Okay.
Deanwood Citizens Association.
Yes. We have one item referred to the board at this morning's Finance and Capital Committee meeting, the FY25 operating and capital budget, fare and service changes, FY25 to 30 capital improvement program, approval of Title VI equity analysis and public participation report, and approval of debt management policy guidelines. Staff sought approval of the general manager's revised FY 2025 operating and capital budgets and the CIP, along with the approval of the Title VI equity analysis and public participation report and debt management policy. The budget includes a 12.5% fare increase and targeted changes to service to ensure a balanced budget. I'd like to reiterate my thanks to the GM and his team, our jurisdictional partners, riders, colleagues on the board who have helped get this budget across the finish line. And Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Mr. Letourneau. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. Any comments or discussion on that item? Hearing none?
Chair
Board
Smedberg?
Secretary, aye. Sorry.
Vice Chair McAndrew?
Aye.
Vice Chair Haddon-Lowe?
Aye.
Ms. Rye?
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Mr. Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Santos?
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor?
Confirmed.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Letourneau. We have 2 items on the board's consent agenda today. I would like to move approval of the following. First item, approval to amend WMATA Defined Contribution Plan and Trust. Staff request approval amendments to the WMATA Defined Contribution Plan and Trust to comply with the Secure Act 2.0 of 2022. Changes include addition of a Roth IRA post-tax contribution option, elimination of first day of the month rule for changes to deferral elections, and effective June 1st, 2026, catch-up contributions made by a highly paid participant are required to be designated as Roth IRA contributions. The second item, approval for parking waiver. Staff requests approval to waive all parking fees, both rider and non-rider, at the Glenmont, Wheaton, Forest Glen, and Tacoma metro stations from June 1st to August 31st, 2024 during the 2024 Red Line shutdown. I'd like to move approval. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Letourneau. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The items are approved. Next, we'll move on to reports by the jurisdictions. MBTC, I don't have anything.
Just real briefly, in light of the budget approval, I just did want to take a moment to thank Tate Mattice, Alan Fry, Andrew DeHoveder, and the entire staff at MBTC, as well as our fellow commissioners for their work and advocacy support for Metro in Richmond and beyond. As we work through the Virginia funding jurisdictions, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of work, a lot of partnership with Metro directly to help make this happen. So I just wanted to take a moment and recognize their work as well.
Okay. WSTC, Mr. McAndrew.
Similarly, we have a team in Maryland that does good work and supported this endeavor for us. We also need to thank our partners, Governor Moore, Lieutenant Governor Miller, General Assembly leadership that were supportive of us every step of the way in terms of getting the additional funding that we needed. I'll also just say, hats off to WMATA. This summer shutdown on the red line is not going to be easy, but there's a real strong, and I said this the other day, an enduring partnership, I think, that's formed on this one between the state, WMATA, and the county that I think not only is going to benefit just in terms of trying to mitigate the pain that's going to be there this summer, it's going to be there, but I think that we'll do our best. But I think long term, there's a real opportunity to not just look at the roadway, as Randy is chatting about permanence, but other types of opportunities to think about our transportation services in Montgomery County and Prince George's as a result.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. District of Columbia, Dr. Lowe.
Yeah, I'll just third everyone's remarks about how appreciative I am of the unified stance we had from mayor and council on support for continuing the current service plan that we have for rail and bus, which is incredibly important to the future of our city. I think we saw that this month with the Cherry Blossom Festival and the ridership records that Metro was setting. It felt like almost every day. I thought this year's Cherry Blossom season was not just astoundingly beautiful in terms of the floral display that we had, which was unusually good this year, but it was just really great to see the city and the region come together in order to celebrate, to enjoy, to be together. It was just a really wonderful experience.
Thank you. The federal government, Ms. Rai.
Nothing at this time, but thank you so much.
Ms. Martin Proctor, is there anything?
Just real briefly, on behalf of the federal government, I once again want to echo thanks for our partnership with our federal government partners, the Department of Transportation. Thank you so much for the opportunity for questions and answers. Our partners with OMB, thank you so much for allowing us to come together. And from the federal government, thank you for being in partnership and supporting mass transit and Metro and making sure that we have a fiscal operational budget.
Thank you. With no further business to come before the board, we'll stand adjourned. I'd like to move the board to executive session in accordance with the bylaws. I, Paul Smedberg, request that the board convene an executive session to discuss the following matters pursuant to Article 2, Paragraph 9, subsections A, budgetary matters that may affect legal positions, WMATA contracts, or sensitive relationships with local jurisdictions or the federal government, and B, litigation, investigations, or other legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice or consultation with counsel and staff members, and D, contractual or other matters involving confidential or proprietary concerns or the investment of public funds where discussion in public would adversely affect the financial interests of WMATA. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today.